We are live. What is going on, everybody? My name is Adam, and I know, right? A little weird to be recording the Hourly Addiction podcast again. I think last time we did an episode was in January where we talked about perfect days. Yeah, I remember now. With my buddy Joseph. I guess it is a little bit of an explanation. The simple, easy answer is life just got in the way. School got really busy, work got really busy, and I actually got a paying gig producing a podcast and producing other social media content for one of the groups that I am involved with within my faith. I'm gonna be honest, I didn't really have time to be doing oral addiction. I know that's kind of sad, and I do apologize, but I know it's been some time where I was just like, I want to do it, but nothing really ever came up of it where I wanted to come back. I did even stop going to the movies for quite some time, but I'm not gonna get into any of that. I don't really want to get into really any of the things. Moving forward, I guess I can say, with this podcast, I can't guarantee I'll be doing this on an every week basis. I can't even guarantee that I'll be doing this on like a semi-weekly or even a monthly basis. All I know is that when I saw Deadpool and Wolverine, I had to talk about it, and obviously this was the perfect outlet to do that. When I did see Fall Guy, there was a little bit of wanting to record the podcast or feeling the need to, but I couldn't. Nothing ever came about it. I ended up getting busy and just couldn't do it. But I set time aside this weekend to come on and talk really, and just really talk about Deadpool and Wolverine. Really, I mean, there's so much to talk. There's so much to say about this film. And so I just felt like wanting to really just come on here and just share my thoughts, even though nobody asked me for them. I'm going to put them out on the internet because that's what we do. That's what we do with the American dream. We put out our thoughts on the internet. Deadpool and Wolverine. Oh my gosh. I mean, immediately out of my thoughts out of the theater was this film is fantastic. In regards to the last two entries, the first two films in the Deadpool trilogy now, because it's officially a trilogy. Congrats, and I'm so glad that Deadpool got a trilogy. I don't even know what I feel. I think I'm a little biased with this one in the sense of because it's involved in the MCU, Hugh Jackman's actually in it. Yeah, it's not just like a small little cameo how we had him in the second one when at the end when Wade's going through the different universes. But I think I'm a little biased just because this one had MCU incorporation and it was finally and fully incorporated into the MCU, whereas the other ones teased it a little bit. Obviously, with Deadpool breaking the fourth wall, it's a little more easier. But in like the first one, in the very first Deadpool, I remember there was just that theory going around that they fought on the helicarrier from the first Avengers film, because it was a very similar like flying ship, that they were just fighting on. It was flat platform. So I remember there was that theory going around, and it was kind of with the hey, it's a possibility. That's it. There was just that rumor circling, but never really confirmed, I guess you can say. Whereas this one was fully fleshed out and fully and its first official entry within the Marvel Cinematic Universe. So Deadpool is officially within the MCU, and obviously Logan, Hugh Jackman's Wolverine, is officially in the MCU. So there's a couple of things I really want to address about the film. Obviously, box office numbers. it's having a fantastic. Its projected numbers are absolutely fantastic, fantastic, and it's a huge like win for Marvel. They've needed it for quite some time, and and so they finally got it. They finally got it after some pretty decent bad, or I don't want to say bad because I've relatively been okay with majority of the stuff Marvel has put out. I did really expect that there was going to be a drop off after Endgame, especially with all the content that they were producing. I had buddies who were like, Endgame was the peak of the MCU, and you're absolutely right. It probably was. At the time, I really thought about it. I was like, yeah, it is. MCU is by far the peak. That's the best the MCU is ever going to be. I think we have to acknowledge that and accept that as Marvel fans. And the great thing is we can go back and we can rewatch that film as many times as we want. But Endgame is the peak. But I think like Marvel has needed this win. Has just needed this win. I remember after No Way Home, I felt a little tapped out with the MCU. I feel like the MCU fatigue kind of started to kick in for me, which is weirdly enough because I loved No Way Home. And I think in that sense, I was okay. Like, I was like, all right, if I hopped off the Marvel Cinematic Universe, if I stopped watching the Marvel Cinematic Universe train right now and stopped watching it, I'd be okay. I feel like I had reached the journey in the end. I had reached the journey where, like, hey, if this is where I get off, this is fine. I got all three Spider-Man in a film. That was absolutely fantastic. It was basically a live Spider-Verse film, even though I still have hope that there will be one down the road. Anyways, that's where I was. And then after we got to Multiverse of Madness, and that was fine. Wakanda Forever was absolutely, in my opinion, for what they could do, I think it was a solid film. Obviously clunky, messy, but they did the best of what they could, and I can appreciate that. I can appreciate what they did with that film, and I can see the beauty in what that film holds. Thor: Love and Thunder, I mean, it's not the worst. The goats were those two goats, flying goats, were absolutely fantastic. But it's by far not a good film. It's not a great film. Multiverse of Madness, little underwhelming. The Marvels, underwhelming. But again, I never had really issues with these. Eternals is honestly, like, I know a lot of people hate on Eternals. That is one of the better films that I think that is in the MCU phase, or multiverse saga. Black Widow, a little bit of a different situation in the sense of, like, it's a prequel. It's a prequel that sets up stuff, so it's just like I really haven't had too many bad experiences with them. More of like, oh, they're not bad. They're not bad. Nothing really stands out, obviously, outside of No Way Home, but No Way Home isn't necessarily directly a Marvel Studios, the actual studio, not like Marvel Studios, the brand. But the actual studio, the corporate side, it wasn't actually Marvel in that sense. It was obviously Sony in partnership with, or excuse me, Marvel Studios in partnership with Sony, where they allow, obviously, due to that contract. So, I think that is where it comes in, where it's just like, it is the MCU, but it's not really Marvel Studios. It's kind of in association with Marvel Studios, and so so that didn't really feel like the MCU's big win. Deadpool and Wolverine, on the other hand, this is a big freaking win. This is a big freaking win for the studio, for Marvel Studios. Like, they needed this film, and it delivered on all fronts, in my opinion. Honestly, okay, the only nitpick that I have of this film is that I laughed so damn much that after I did have a headache, and there's almost like that when you like are having too much of a good time, and then after you're like just like drained of like serotonin serotonin and endorphins, and like you're just like kind of like in this, I don't want to say like this depressive state. That's not what I'm saying. But you're like just kind of like down after, you know what I mean? So like that's the only nitpick I have, is that it was so damn funny that after I was just like, whoa. Like, what did I just go through? Like, Endgame was a different story where it was just, like, overall emotionally sad, but actually emotionally awesome and emotionally kicking ass. So, and story kicking ass. But yeah. And Deadpool and Wolverine, absolutely fantastic. And I don't know what to say. The theater experience was absolutely awesome, I should say. They sold out of the popcorn buckets, which I'm a little disappointed. I did kind of want it. I had buddies, Rob, who's been on the show before. He wanted the cups. Couldn't get those. I know they sold out of the Deadpool, like the I don't know how Marvel proved it, but the Deadpool bucket. I'll put it in right here. I don't know how Marvel pulled it, but that's sold out like shortly after we got there. So I'm a little disappointed. I'm hoping they restock it because I feel like this is like something that would just naturally just continue to do well with how many people are going to see this freaking film. So I hope we will obviously see. If I can't get my hands on one, it is what it is. If I can't, it is what it is. I mean, I should say I have kind of in the sense downgrade or renovate the studio. Obviously, looks a little different as opposed. Things are kind of cleared out. I've been just honestly kind of getting rid of this stuff. I hate to say it. I'm gonna be honest. A lot of it throughout the process. I'm not trying to get into it again. I not recording. I was just like, this is all just kind of. I don't want to say junk, but that was how I was kind of feeling in this sense, and I was just trying to get rid of it, give it away, sell it, whatever I could at really just like low cost. But I don't think it's going anywhere. Who knows? I don't know if I'll fully set up the studio. The table is in right here. I've been using it for other, recording stuff or editing, really. But no, yeah, I really want to get into this film. Really, really want to do. I want to get into the numbers first. So, Forbes reported this just today, this morning, actually, at 9:30 a.m. Eastern Standard, so 6 a.m. So right about the time I got up this morning. Anyways, and the title is exactly what it is. Like I said, it's having a fantastic weekend. Deadpool and Wolverine shatters box office records, eyes for a $400 million global opening weekend. Hell yeah. And I thank Mark Hughes from Forbes.com for bringing us this article. Well, not that specifically, but being able for us to use it and just give him credit. Anyways, Marvel's instant summer blockbuster Deadpool and Wolverine from director Sean Levy, who co-wrote with Ryan Reynolds, is shattering box office records and expectations this weekend as it eyes a possible $400 million global opening weekend. It looks destined to be the biggest R-rated opening in history. Deadpool and Wolverine took $65 million in international markets heading into the weekend, and the stateside, the MCU superhero sequel sat atop at an estimated $55 million for Friday. That also includes the Thursday early screening. So, and it states that here in the actual article. But when they say Friday, they include those, I guess you can say midnight, but at this point it's 3 p.m. on Thursday. That's the earliest showing you can get in my area. They include the Thursday numbers into that Friday. So I guess it's like really a day and a half combined worth into Friday. So that's pretty solid, in all honesty. If we include China's opening numbers as well, then we're talking nearly 130 million without international figures for Friday aside from China. We'll know more when we get the numbers this morning. You can safely bet that the international Friday ticket sales blew past the domestic figures and could send the film towards a 200 million or more through the end of Friday, with 2 more days of the weekend business ahead. Absolutely, and that makes sense. We know China is such a big market for films. When you hear a film is not going to be releasing in China, that is almost like, I don't want to say like a death sentence for a lot of films, because films can be successful without China, but the odds of not getting that boost from the Chinese market, the Chinese demographic for films, it's like sending your film out to die almost if it's not releasing in China. For some films, for Marvel films, I should say, titled Marvel films or characters that people want to see. No offense to the other Marvel projects, that where they won't do well. But anyways, China does not have a good, China does have China has one of the best markets, if not the best movie market in the entire world. The Chinese people, they absolutely go out and support films that they are interested in. obviously, without surprise, Deadpool and Wolverine, the hype. I remember when we broke the news on the podcast when they announced Deadpool and Wolverine. Miguel and I were recording the episode, and like halfway through, we had to take a break because we had to charge the battery for my camera. And while we were charging it, halfway through, we got the news that Hugh Jackman has joined Deadpool and Deadpool 3, and it will be reworked Deadpool and Wolverine. So, absolutely fantastic. These numbers are fantastic. I wouldn't be surprised. Continuing on, he says to go, word of mouth is spectacular with glowing critical, including my own, meaning Mark Hughes, and even my own. Like I said, I love this film a lot, and the audience reception for the long-awaited team up, not only of the title character Deadpool and Wolverine, but of Ryan Reynolds and Hugh Jackman, who work together as these two characters in the essentially wiped out from existence X-Men Origins Wolverine, and having circle one another for a team up ever since. So yeah, last time we saw these two on screen together was in X-Men Wolverine's Origins, or excuse me, X-Men Origins Wolverine. We just won't talk about it. Enough said. Anyways, but to finish off this, I'm excited by the prospect of the new MCU based X-Men and look forward to a fresh approach. But I must say, it will be a shame if we don't get more of this dream team, because these two alone could seriously be among the anchors of a whole new phase of MCU films. I love that. I love that a lot because it's 100% true. I 100% agree with that. With Secret Wars being delayed till forever, basically. Yeah, they're gonna be back. Hugh Jackman. This is not Hugh Jackman's last time playing Wolverine. I don't doubt it. This isn't Ryan Reynolds' last time playing Deadpool. I don't doubt that. But it's gonna be a while before I think we see them team up again. If we get a Deadpool 4 before Avengers 4, which I don't know, if I had to guess, Avengers 4 is 5 to 6 years away. So I mean, it's possible we get a Deadpool 4 before we get Avengers and Secret Wars comes out, let alone the King or whatever Avengers 5 is. I wouldn't be surprised if we got a Deadpool. So actually, no, if I got to be entirely honest, I think Avengers 5 is probably 5 to 6 years away, which means Avengers Secret War is 6 to 7 years away, which lines up because they're going to be released a year apart. So, with that being said, Deadpool 4 is definitely a possibility before we get the 5th Avengers film. If that's the case, I can see a smaller reduced role for Hugh Jackman. And then his final time probably being Secret Wars, going out in an Avengers film, finally getting his Avengers film. We never got ABX, which is sad. But anyways, yeah, absolutely success. Super, super fantastic success for Marvel. This is, I guess you can say this is the first IP that they that they inherited from Fox that they're actually using. I don't count X-Men 97. I don't count that. But this is the first ones of their characters that they're using. Obviously, we knew Deadpool wasn't going anywhere. We knew Ryan Reynolds wasn't going anywhere as Deadpool. But yeah, I think absolutely fantastic. Fantastic. It's a great opening weekend. It's a great win for Marvel. I don't know the last time. I mean, that they had a film that, I mean, I don't want to say like went over $400 million, but I know Black Panther did, but I'm talking like consecutively. What was the last film? The Marvels, right? That was an absolute clunker. That did not do well. That made $206 million. What came out last year? For the MCU, I don't even remember. Let me look that up. Marvel 2023. What came out in 2023? Oh, Guardians. Oh, Guardians was like a $1 billion film as well. Okay, I stand corrected. I do stand corrected on that because Guardians of the Galaxy was a hit, and I do remember that. So let's see, what did Guardians 3 make? $845 million, and then what do we have? What was that? Was that just all? Ant-Man and the Wasp, which that was a clunker as well, which I think honestly made about, I think like $400 million. Yeah, 476. So okay, so the films haven't been doing absolutely terrible as I remember, but obviously not well when Deadpool and Wolverine outperforms 3 of the last 4 films in the last in the span of a weekend. Now, mind you, obviously it was like Deadpool and Wolverine was absolutely going to do that. There was no situation where it wasn't going to. So I'm gonna be honest, I don't know what I'm talking about here. But I mean, Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania had an absolute had the story been better, I think it absolutely could have been could have done more than 500. The Marvels, I think people were at this point when the Marvels came out, people were just kind of over Brie Larson as Captain Marvel. I mean, I get it, but also I don't think she deserves it. I think she's a fantastic actor. I think she was more of herself in the Marvels. But point is, back to Deadpool and Wolverine. Absolute win for Marvel. Needed win for Marvel. Let's get in really to the highlights of this film. Really, I should say, because obviously Ryan Reynolds, Hugh Jackman. We had Emma Corrin, who was Nova, which was fantastic. And then we had Matthew McFadden, who played Mr. Paradox, who was the main villain. We saw Rob Delaney return as Peter. We saw Morena Baccarin return as Vanessa. Lisa Uxman return as Blind Al, and of course we had Karan Soni as Dupinder. So we got a lot of good returning cast. I will say they did kind of phase out. I don't think Colossus talked at all. I think he was just in it as background. I can't remember him talking in all honesty. Negasonic Teenage Warhead, she was in it for a very, very small part of it. So the Deadpool characters outside of Deadpool, all smaller characters. Peter had the biggest role. He was a supporting character, whereas the rest of them felt kind of like cameos. They were there at the beginning and they were there at the end. They sporadically popped up throughout in flashbacks throughout the film, but it wasn't anything special. I think this is Marvel's way of writing them out, because I do think at some point Deadpool and Wolverine and hopefully Daphne King do jump ship to the actual MCU. I think obviously let's talk about the cameos. Absolutely fantastic. So I think the biggest surprise, in all honesty, the two biggest surprises for me, and I feel like a lot of people would agree, is Wesley Snipes and Chris Evans returning to Marvel projects. Obviously, Wesley Snipes as Blade, absolutely fantastic. Wesley Snipes as Blade. I can't say enough. I loved those films. I love those films. Those are absolutely fantastic. Marvel's, I want to say, original R-rated films before the comic book era really kicked off. I would say those are Deadpool's predecessors. The Blade films, in my opinion, I think at the very least the first one is rated R. Even if it's not, I'd be surprised. Wesley Snipes as Blade kind of led that, made it possible for Deadpool to be rated R, without a doubt. Chris Evans, not returning as Captain America, but returning as Johnny Storms. Hilarious. It was great. It was fantastic. I even loved that he wore Captain America pants. I thought at first when I saw him, I was like, oh, he's the Nomad. He's a variant of Captain America. But no. He was Johnny Storm, which I thought was absolutely amazing. To my surprise, well, no, this was one of the earlier leaks. Jennifer Gardner as Elektra, I thought that was absolutely awesome. I think there was a Daredevil joke, and it was completely like she can like Elektra's character completely was like disregarded Daredevil, which is funny because obviously if you've seen the original Daredevil, you know it's played by Ben Affleck. Ben Affleck and Jennifer Gardner were married at some point and are no longer. So it was shade on both sides, which I thought was hilarious. But I will have to say, one of the surprises that was like out of the left field that I never thought would see the light of day. I never thought we would get this adaptation of a Marvel character, Channing Tatum as Gambit. I don't even know what to say. I don't even know what to say because that was a film that was supposed to come out like close to like 20 years ago. I think or maybe like 10 years ago, like 2014. But I remember Channing Tatum as Gambit was like something that was just supposed that just never happened. It was confirmed. They announced him at Comic-Con one year where they like Channing Tatum is the Gambit. He will be getting his own film and he'll be within the X-Men universe, and nothing happened. So to see Channing Tatum finally be able to play Gambit, I think was awesome. Obviously, 10 to 15 years a little too late. Was great. It was great. It was great because Channing Tatum's a hilarious actor, and I think him coming back, him making his debut in a Marvel film as Gambit, absolutely incredible. Suit was pretty cool. I mean, it's a very Marvel Studios ballistic style, combat suit. It's not the not as heavily accurate, I would say, to the Gambit comic counterpart. But obviously, Daphne King as Laura made a great appearance. I love the attention to detail with her character because they gave her the glasses from Logan. I thought that was fantastic, and it goes to show she's the original. That's the Laura from the Logan, our X-Men universe, the Logan verse, I guess, because that was like separate on its own, I think. I think I don't remember actually. But point is, it was great. It was great to see her back as well. I mean, it's so crazy. Last time she was a kid kicking all kinds of ass, and this one, because she wasn't the main attention, a little bit of a lesser role, I guess you can say. But I really want to talk about like moving forward. Not moving forward, but I want to talk about Sean Levy and him co-writing this with Ryan Reynolds. I think the two of them working together just works. We've seen him do Free Guy. We've seen him do the Atom Project. They work together so well. That is like fire and ice, peanut butter and jelly, mustard and ketchup. Like they together. I love what they're doing. I love absolutely what they are doing. It was fantastic, absolutely fantastic. And I want to talk also. Well, I want to bring up how Ryan Reynolds and Hugh Jackman kind of discussed what was the original marketing ploy for this film. On an episode of Hot Ones, I was listening to it, and Ryan Reynolds had said like the original pitch to release this film was as a joke in the sense of they were going to film a very poorly made trailer and make a very poorly made poster and have it basically play in movie theaters all throughout the globe, and nobody would buy tickets to it. And he'd be like, yeah, there'd be like maybe 10 people in the movie theaters, and those 10 would be surprised with Deadpool and Wolverine. And I'm gonna be honest, that would have been fantastic. That would have been such like an awesome drop for this film, and it would film it like the marketing itself would not like there would have to be no marketing for Deadpool and Wolverine. Like if they not announced it and kept this thing a complete secret. Obviously a little harder because you have a whole entire set. You have all these people just working on these films, thousands and thousands of people working on Deadpool and Wolverine. So it would have been hard to keep that secret. But for whatever reason, they kept a lot of these cameos a secret with Blade, Johnny Storm, Gambit, the Calverine. I will say, Henry Cavill as Wolverine, absolutely fantastic. We even saw Happy Hogan return. That was very nice and very sentimental. It was before the snap, and then also we had both Pyro and Sabretooth coming back, which I thought was awesome. Sabretooth, Wolverine's brother in the comics, but also Pyro, who was in the original X-Men, Aaron Stanford. That was awesome to see him come back as Pyro as well. Um, he obviously he's aged. I didn't recognize him, to be honest, until he did the until he absorbed Johnny Storm's powers, or flame. But I want to talk also a little bit about Nova. I'm gonna be honest, a little bit of an underwhelming character when we were at kind of like the climax. I thought that was how the film was really gonna end, and I was like, oh, we're having a happy ending, like it's genuinely a happy ending, and she's just kind of letting Logan and Deadpool off, but no, she didn't. She ended up being the villain, which I thought was complete 180 because I feel like they squashed the beef and then they restarted the beef. Um, point is, point is, she was Charles Xavier's twin sister that Charles had no idea that he knew about her, and I did like the dynamic of which Hugh Jackman's Wolverine did really like kind of cater and say, hey, Charles would have come and find you. Like that is not like that is something he would have absolutely done had he known about you, and he didn't know about you. And so I think that was a great dynamic put into the story and absolutely fantastic. And honestly, too, like obviously, I get like Hugh Jackman and Ryan Reynolds are friends outside of these films, which does help to the chemistry, but but tremendously they had chemistry together where they had serious scenes, and that's what I love, because like this Deadpool film was serious, and the last two do have serious elements, but this was a serious story, and it's kind of like the way Deadpool handles this being like a serious story is how some people I feel like cope in society, where it's just like we laugh about it and we kind of like our coping mechanism is by making jokes, by cracking jokes, by just doing it we're just doing that, and like that's how it felt. So I think that's what really helped build to that, how being able to like relate to Deadpool in this film. Wanting to save his friends, wanting to save his family, and it's just like, and they show it in the trailer where Logan and Wade are just like, they're arguing in the van, and and Deadpool's like, this is my world, like this is my world. It's only 9 people, but there are only 9, but it is all I have, and it's worth saving basically, and you're the only one who knows how to save a world. And it felt right. It felt good, and like that scene was just so emotionally heavy. And then I will say, here's another thing. It is Deadpool and Wolverine, but if you called this film Deadpool versus the Wolverine, that would have worked as well, because these two guys fought like 2-3 times throughout the film. Like they actually fought. Like and I'm talking like went at each other, and it was funny, and the fight scenes were fantastic, like they like went all out, and it was good, absolutely fantastic. But there was also comedy in the worked into the script with it, and it just worked. It absolutely worked. Overall, I love this film. I want to see it again, and I did want to see it again before I record it, but I was like, you know what? Let me just record it on how I'm feeling right now, because right now I do see some of the flaws. I'm gonna be honest. I felt this film could have benefited from maybe being 10 to 15 minutes just shorter. That's just my opinion. I don't know if those who saw it felt the same way, but I just feel like it could have benefited from just a little less time, in my opinion. But that's just me personally as well. I don't really have a long attention span anymore, and I think that's why one of the reasons I kind of stopped going to the movies. Well, for movies, I don't know why I can't sit down and watch a movie, or I can't sit down and watch a TV show or anything like that anymore. But obviously we got the Deadpool corpse, which was absolutely fantastic. And also too, we find what was her name? Blake Lively. She did end up voicing Lady Deadpool, which was perfect and fantastic. There's this whole montage scene where Wolverine and Deadpool are killing the entire Deadpool corpse, and they assumed that they didn't have regenerative health because there was a Deadpool who was Deadpool without the mask, and it was Ryan Reynolds with long hair. and he he didn't. He's the only Deadpool that wasn't able to regenerate his wounds. Like he couldn't heal his wounds, and so the main Wolverine. The main Deadpool used him as a body bag, and Logan calls him out on it, which I thought was absolutely hilarious. And so they kill all these Deadpools, and then they start to kind of wake up, or they start to like heal and come back to consciousness, and it's just a funny scene because um Peter comes to save the day. Peter Pool, that's what I'm calling him. Peter Pool comes. It's Peter from Deadpool's from the main Deadpool's universe, who comes dressed in the old the Fox Deadpool suit, and it fits so tightly. It's just funny, and the Deadpool stop fighting because of it, and they're like, oh, every Deadpool has a Peter, and it's just absolutely fantastic. I don't know about like I don't know if you realized it before, but I think that that was just like a nod at like Spider-Man and like Peter Parker, just because, I mean, every Peter has a Deadpool, and I think it's just like, oh yeah, everybody has a Peter. And it's like kind of alluding to Spider-Man. I don't know if like anybody's like thought about that in the first two. I never did, just because I think two separate universes, three really, with now it's Fox, Marvel, and Sony into one collective Marvel Cinematic Universe, which is fantastic in my opinion. Um, but overall, I'd recommend everybody seeing this film because the opening sequence, in my opinion, is just worth it in itself, where it's Ryan Reynolds, obviously as Deadpool, dancing to Bye 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 and reenacting the dance moves in one like while fighting the TVA. With Logan's from the Logan film, his corpse. And so I mean it was overall fantastic. I know I didn't really go over like what the plot line of the story was, or what the plot of the story was. I'm just not gonna do that, just because you know what, go and see it for yourself. In my sense, I'll talk about everything that stood out to me, because the story, in my opinion, was great. Were there some questionable writing skills? Absolutely. Did I think it could have been 15 minutes, a little shorter? Yeah. But you know what? It's not enough to say for like, don't see this movie. It's bad. It's horrible. Absolutely not, because it's not. This film is the best film in the Marvel Cinematic Universe in a while, and I mean a while, because it's like, yes, Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3 was great, and they did pull on our heartstrings with the whole the Rocket Raccoon storyline. But unfortunately, I feel like that kind of just got immediately like pushed over because of the state of which the MCU was, or what the how we were starting to feel about the MCU. Like, hey, it's just like, we don't know if this is any good. This feels like a clear statement, whereas it's like, we want to make good quality. Now, here's what I will say moving forward about, and kind of transitioning out of the Deadpool Wolverine talk. Does this film mean the MCU is back? Absolutely freaking not. It does not. It does not mean the MCU is back at all. Is it a step in the right direction? 100%. This is what Marvel needed. Marvel needed this win. And I'm going to be honest. I'm going to be 100% honest. Captain America and Brave New World, I think that looks fantastic. I think that's going to be great. I think that's going to be great as well. However, I am in the minority where I thought Falcon and the Winter Soldier was one of the better Disney Plus shows, if not the best, in my opinion. I was just like, yeah, this is, but also too, I do love the whole espionage, backstabbing, style storylines. I do. I think the espionage and the whole shady sides of the government, I love that. I love that. It always tells for a good story. But point is, I think that the MCU is going in the right direction. Like we said, Bob Iger and even Kevin Feige is on board with it, slowing production down on things and making sure they're doing things right, and having less come out, and not just, hey, this is what we want and this is what we're going to give. How do you fix the MCU moving forward? I would, in my opinion, every character has to be introduced within a film. Every character. You can't, the first time we see these characters cannot be in a TV show. And the reason I say that is, it's like Moon Knight, oh my gosh, Miss Marvel, like that just can't happen. Monica Rambeau, Photon, like that just can't happen. They need to be introduced in in the films. Like in the films, everybody needs to be introduced in the films, and if there is a need and a want for those characters, then that's when you do it. Because I'm sorry, like with Echo showing up in Hawkeye, it just didn't work. I'm sorry, it just didn't work. It's a little different with Kate Bishop, in her sense, just because it's Haley Steinfeld. She's an established actress, and she's good, and we know. And so I feel like her being introduced alongside Hawkeye, Jeremy Renner's Hawkeye, was absolutely fantastic. But moving forward, I think, how do you fix the MCU? More films. I think, honestly, in my opinion, the formula needs to be 3 films and 2 shows a year. That's 5 projects total, and I think that's fine. If you want to do like a short, like how they did with like a Werewolf by Night, I think that'd be great too. If you just do a special maybe every other year, every other year, that'd be great. Something around one of the holidays. They've already done Christmas, Halloween. Do Easter, or do the 4th of July next. Do one with Sam. How does Sam celebrate 4th of July? Like, I think that'd be a good holiday special. Just do stuff like that. I think that'd be different. Just go. It's just a different side of the MCU that we don't get to see. It just creates something for everybody, really. And yeah, I think that's how you fix the MCU moving forward. I think that just worked. 3 films a year. I think it just worked. It worked because it actually felt like we had to wait for something each and every time. Also, too, one of the things that I wish they would have done with Avengers Infinity War, in between an Avengers Endgame, is film a separate. So, because obviously at the time, I think that something that would be cool with Marvel is doing like a 30 to 40 minute short film when you have these big universal events or cataclysmic events in the storylines, where you film it while you're filming these films. You film this 30 to 40 minute short film, and then you release them in theater like halfway through the next film, like a year later. Like, for example, I can only assume that Avengers 5 and Avengers 6 Avengers 5 will creep into Avengers 6. That's what they said. We don't know now, just because of the state of which the MCU is at, and obviously Jonathan Majors is out as King. So, what I would say, if you are going to do a time jump, or if you are going to do something that does a flash forward like 5 years, or something that is like, hey, we don't have time to tell this in theaters or tell this in the film, give us like a 30 to 40 minute, hey, heck, even an hour. Give us an hour short film that's included in the when on DVD, when the next big film, like this, like the second part of that, or the film, for example, Avengers Infinity War and Avengers Endgame. So like if you did the halfway, 30-minute film, like immediately after the snap, what did they do after the snap? And when like Tony arrives, and then when Endgame starts, they're immediately just telling the story, and you include this halfway film on the box set or on the DVD of the next, include it at the beginning, and then it starts, and then the feature length film starts. I would say do it like that, just because, I mean, I think that'd be cool. Now, I mean, that's more of just like a niche. That's more of like me. Like, that's what I want. I have never heard anybody talk about that. Or even if you release it on YouTube, where it's like, hey, this is what's going on. But then I can see where all that gets kind of messy, because then it's like, oh, we have to watch otherwhere. And the whole point of the MCU right now is that we shouldn't have to be watching everything. We shouldn't have to be watching the TV shows to understand the films. Without doing a short, like, little wrap up. But if you saw Deadpool and Wolverine, please let me know your thoughts. Please, let me know what you thought. Let me know what you love. Let me know what you didn't love. Let me know how you think the MCU should be fixed, or how can we fix the MCU? How can Marvel fix the MCU? What would bring you back to the movie theaters, in the sense of, maybe some of you guys didn't see Ant-Man and the Wasp. Maybe some of you didn't see the Marvels or Shang-Chi or Eternals or something like that. Maybe you guys just didn't see that. What would bring you back to the whole movie-going experience? And do you think there needs to be less Marvel TV shows? Because I think that's part of the issue. But I think that's going to do it for this episode. As always, I'm Adam, and I don't know the next time I'll be doing another episode of Our Real Addiction. So, hopefully soon. I hope it's not. If I can continue to do this, I absolutely will. But obviously, I have obligations outside of this podcast, so I don't want to make any false promises. That's the thing. But I do know that I wanted to come on here and talk about Deadpool and Wolverine, and kind of the state of the MCU and what I loved about Deadpool and Wolverine. But as always, guys, this was our prediction.